In this tutorial, we'll look at creating detail forms for the databases Designer for Microsoft Access creates. We'll start at the step where you're creating your new database. Designer's going to start making the database. We'll go ahead and open it. And let's go ahead and take an example here of the most common instance where you might want to put in a detail form. And that's where you have what's called the many-to-many relationship. And so in your form, we've got basically some basic information about a record. And down in the bottom here, that we can see the serial number column. By default, Designer is going to find the first particular field that you defined for this related table, and it's going to use that in the drop-down list. So a couple things we can do. First, right-click our form, select Design, go to the tab in question, and now down here we see it in the design view. Let's click on it, make sure that the box highlights. Go up to the top here to Property Sheet. You'll see Access opens up this nice little property sheet here with all the information about this particular field. Click on the Data tab. You'll see a row source. That basically represents what is going to be displayed to you as the user. And you can see that it's got a somewhat unfriendly SQL string. What we're going to do is click the little ellipsis. We are in what's called the Query Designer. It's a much nicer visual format. What you'll see is the first column here is this replacement O2 ID. That's basically the unique key for any given record in that table. Serial number, which is what we saw in the form, is what's showing up right now, and it's being displayed in ascending order, as you can see. Now let's say we wanted to make this display the serial number and then something else that's relevant to us. If it's a username, it might be the first and last name. In this case, let's say that perhaps the start date is what's relevant to us. I'm going to move into the field box, I'm going to type a space, I'm going to type the ampersand, quotes, space, quotes, and then another ampersand. That's basically saying show the serial number and then a space and then a square bracket around that next field name. Now in this place where I've got the quotes, I could put anything I want. I could put a parentheses and then some sort of information there. It's mainly those ampersands. How it's you can add text. Now we close. We don't need to save. Just simply close. We go back to that property sheet. Now you'll see it's got an even longer and ugly string here as well, but that's going to represent that information we wanted to see in that subform. When I select this replacement tab, I get the drop-down list with what I had entered. So you can see here we've got two different sensors and also the date. So I can select that, and that's going to give us all the information we might have needed. Let's go ahead and delete this text message. You won't need that. You can just highlight it and click delete. The reason why a many-to-many relationship shows up this way is because the replacement sensor in this case, or something else that might be related, has a whole set of detail unto itself. So unlike a simple drop-down list here, which has only a single value for the make or the model, something that is a many-to-many relationship means that we're tying together this replacement sensor record with the gas detector here. Now let's say we wanted to pop up a form to show even more detail. Let's go back to our design view. Let's drag these over here a little bit and add a button from the top in the toolbar, and I will just size it. Alright, that's pretty easy. You click the property sheet over. Now here we could either set this to have a certain text in it. I'm just going to make this a picture. So in the property sheet, click the ellipsis next to picture, and you can select from any of these pictures you might want. We'll use the magnifying glass. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll right click and select Build Event. And basically we're going to be taken to what's called the Visual Basic Editor. And in here you're not going to need to know a lot of Visual Basic. We're going to just teach you a very simple one line that will work for you. And we're just going to type in do command, which basically tells Access to do something. Then you get this whole list of things you could do. And we're just going to say open a form. Now we need to decide what the form name is. You can generally find it here in this list here. We just happen to know it's form place sensor O2. And then see how the right here, this is what's called Intellisense. It's going to tell you all of the different things that you could basically give as commands. So in this case, we're saying we're going to open the form replacement sensor 02. We don't really care about the view. We could say we want it to be in the layout view or different views that you can open a form in. We're going to hit commas until we get to the where condition. Where, and now this is where let's go do a little bit of homework. We're going to open this form replace sensor 02. Let's go figure out basically what the primary unique key is for that particular form. Easiest way to do that is to right click that form, open it in design view, click on this add existing fields, and you'll see this last one here, replace 02 ID. That happens to be the unique identifier for a record. So whenever I'm looking at a replacement sensor, this RPL OT ID happens to be the unique key. In your database, it might be customer ID, contact ID. All you're going to do though is type that in. So we want to say where the replacement 02 ID equals an ampersand, then me, which means on this current form that we are in, there's a field, and it happens to be, it's going to correspond basically to that RPL OT02 ID, except it's going to start with FK. You don't need to know all the reasons for that, but it basically means it's a foreign key, or it's a referring to that other identifier. And then value. And that's basically it. That's all you'll really need to do. We click Save. Now let's open our gas detector form in the detail view. I'm just going to click the little spyglass here, and suddenly it's opened up that other form just to this record, basically. Now one thing that I can do is maybe I don't like the look of that form when it comes to a detail. Well, Microsoft Access has a pretty nice wizard for creating what's called a detail form. So select the related table, in this case it's table RPL02, and up in the Create ribbon, if you're using Access 2000 or 2007, it's in the database window and it's Create Form. Now, Access 2007 and 2010 just automatically create what's called a detail form here for us. Go ahead and save this, and I want to save it as, let's say, form placement 02 detail. I always like to give it somewhat of a descriptive name like detail so you kind of can differentiate between the different forms. We can close this. Now let's go ahead and make this form what our button is tied to. I'll go back to design mode, click on that button, click build event, and we're taken back to where we were, but now let's open up that other form we just created. Let's save it. Now we can go back to the database window. We're going to open this form in its view mode. I'll go back to that tab and I just click the button, and now it's opened up my detail form. So this is an easy way for you to be able to not only see in the drop-down some relevant information about another record in the database, but it's also an easy way that you can pop up the details and I can start to add more details here to this particular form, and of course make it perhaps prettier than it is right now. Thanks for watching this tutorial on creating detail forms and handling many-to-many relationships.